Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, الذي ألف بالإسلام بين قلوب المؤمنين وأوجب الاتحاد وحرم التفرقة في كتابه المبين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله هدى من يشاء إلى صراط المستقيم، وأشهد أن سيدنا محمد رسول الله خير داع إلى طريق القويم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه الذين تهذبت نفوسهم وتهذبت قلوبهم فكانوا سادة المنصورين. أما بعد، فيا عباد الله، أوصيكم ونفسي أولا بتقوى الله تعالى وطاعته. That is, all praise is due to Allah, who has united the hearts of the believer in Islam and has made it an obligation to remain united, and has made it forbidden to become separated in His clear book. I bear witness that there is nothing worthy of worship except Allah, who guides to the straight path whom He wills, and I bear witness that our leader Muhammad is His messenger and the best caller to the way that is straight. O Allah, send your prayers and peace upon our leader Muhammad and upon his family and upon his companions, whose hearts were united and whose souls were educated, so that they became victorious leaders. And what follows thereafter, O believers of Allah, I advise you as well as I advise myself to first have the proper regard for Allah and thereafter be obedient to Him. Dear believers, I greet you with the universal greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Now we are in the second week of this journey on going through the 99 attributes of Allah. And at some point, I am probably going to be unable to continue the count of what number we're on, but we will move through these, inshallah, 1 week at a time. And I pray that Allah continues to keep us focused and allows us to work through these beautiful attributes of our Creator. And so this week we look at the attribute of Rahim, Ar-Rahim, and we know that it sounds similar to the one from last week, Ar-Rahman, but Ar-Rahim, and they come from the same root word Rahman, which means mercy. And then we talked about last week, there are a couple of the attributes that are going to sound similar, and we'll discuss that as other ones come along. But when last week we discussed Rahman, we talked about it in the context of it being the mercy that we experience in this life, the mercy that is experienced in this present life as creation, living, walking, earth, breathing, all these different things that And so looked at it as Allah Ar-Rahman as being the merciful benefactor, or the most merciful, providing the most mercy in this life. But Rahim, Ar-Rahim, is not the mercy of this life. The Ar-Rahim is the mercy that is given in the next life. And we can look throughout the Quran where Allah describes certain instances in the next life, where maybe reclining on couches, there are rivers flowing, and it's these beautiful images that are created as inspiration or as motivation to lead the believer to want to make it to paradise and experience something better than what is here. So Ar-Rahim, and we know that just like Ar-Rahman, we find that in the different surahs, in most of the surahs, they start off Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, with the name of Allah, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. And so I like to use the term the redeemer, because it's like when you think about it, you go someplace and you've got these tickets, you've played this game, or you've done something, you worked really hard at it, you've acquired a skill, and now you've gone out and you've tested yourself in whatever this experience is. And now I have this ticket, now I have this, maybe this coupon, this card, whatever it is, and I go to a place and I hand it to them expecting something better in return from my time and from my hard work and for all the things that I had to experience. So I want to redeem this ticket, like Charlie and the Chocolate. You want to redeem this golden ticket. So Allah is the Redeemer, the merciful Redeemer, not just a Redeemer that gives you something that's beneficial, but the merciful Redeemer, the Redeemer that gives you something that gives you such great peace, that gives you that all we can do in this life, all we can do is imagine, hypothesize. We can take various narrations, various traditions from the Prophet, peace be upon him, that have been passed down. We can look at these verses of the Quran and that read and that we see and that we take in as the word of Allah. And that's what we hold on to. This idea of the merciful Redeemer inspires faith in us. It inspires us to have faith because we have to, in order to believe or in order to have the thought or inclination that this is possibly true, that if I do all these things that are asked of me, I have to have faith. I have to have faith that this is true. I have to have faith that the promise of Allah is true, that Allah is the merciful Redeemer, Ar-Rahim, that if I live my life a certain way, this creator of mine, this creator is going to pay me back or to give me something that is beneficial. And where I go, I won't have the same problems. I won't have the same issues. If I was homeless, I won't be homeless anymore. If I was pulled away from what I consider to be my homeland, and if for whatever reason it may be, I won't have to suffer that anymore, because if I was oppressed, I won't be oppressed anymore. If perhaps I had some kind of physical ailment, some kind of physical limitations, I won't have those limitations. But this faith, it's this faith that we have to have that what's to come is better than the present. And we know in Surah Duha it says, well, the hereafter is better than the present. So this is because if it's better than the present, and even if we're living a wonderful life, even if we're millionaires and billionaires and everything seems to be going right in our life, making all our prayers on time, our family loves us, we have no complaints, the hereafter is still better than the present. And for many of us, we can't begin to fathom or imagine what it's like to even have a perfect situation in this life. But if we could, to know that the next life is better than the present, this shows that Allah is the merciful Redeemer. But this redemption, these benefits, this mercy that you would receive in the next life is reserved. It's reserved for those who have worked and strived and struggled in the way of Allah, who have lived their life in a way that is pleasing to their Creator. So it's not saying that this is not that it's not a possibility. It's saying that there is a certain level of work that you have to do to achieve that. It is a certain level of actions that you have to do to be in a position to where your actions are redeemed, and you can experience this hereafter that is better than the present. Because we know there is another side to that if you don't. But here we're looking at Allah's capacity, if we can even frame it as such, if we can even take what our minds, our human intellect can begin to think or assume is the capacity of Allah, that the capacity for there to be mercy We are unable to even understand that because it is so much that Allah does for us here. That if we're thinking about the unseen, if we're thinking about the next life that we don't have, nobody came back and told us what it was all about. We don't have that information. Even in the hadith of Jibril, the angel told the prophet, the questioner knows as much as the one being questioned, and this is regarding things as the last day and in that context. But the capacity for Allah to be the merciful Redeemer, to reward you for all the good that you've done in a way that you cannot imagine, in a way that is better than what you're experiencing in this life. This inspires faith in believers. This should ignite in us the desire to want to improve our lives, because this is one of the attributes of Allah. And so if it's an attribute of Allah, and if this is something that is labeling or as a title for our Creator, then it means that it is a possibility for us. It means that we have the potential to experience the redemption from our Lord, the redemption from our Creator for all that we have done, all that we have struggled through, and the progress and effort that we made to live a life that is pleasing to our Creator. أقول هذا أستغفر لي ولكم والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم. Merciful Redeemer. Dear believers, these attributes of Allah, these names, these titles, these adjectives, these things that describe Allah should give us hope in most cases that we have the capacity to do what is necessary to receive those benefits, to be able to see these attributes fulfilled for us, to be able to see what is it exactly that this merciful Redeemer can do for me. What is it exactly that it means for me to have the benefit of the mercy from my Creator in the next life? What does it mean that the hereafter is better than the present? I have the opportunity. I have the capacity to experience it. You have the capacity, the opportunity to experience it. It's the only thing that is stopping us, or the only thing that could get in the way of us being able to experience this merciful redemption, this action from this merciful Redeemer, our Creator, is ourselves. It's the choices that we make, the things that we do, the things that we say, the way that we utilize our time. These are the only things that stand in the way of us knowing what Ar-Rahim really means, fully experiencing what that could look like for us. So it's not to say that it's out of reach. It's not to say that you cannot improve your life and you cannot change and you cannot, even if you're doing great, that you can't do more, or that you can maintain this same level of effort for an extended period of time. You can. You can improve. You can continue to do the great work that you're doing now. You have to choose to. You have to want to. You have to have faith. You have to have faith that the promise of Allah is true, that successful will be the believer, that you will be one of the companions of the right hand. Dear brothers and sisters, dear believers, the merciful Redeemer. Yeah, I go back to that image of that kid at the carnival or at one of these arcades, and they spent all their parents' money, and they spent all this time on this one little game, and they've got two handfuls of tickets. And these handfuls of tickets may be your prayers. You may have spent all your effort, all this money, your charity that you've given, all these things, and these handful of tickets are the blessing. This handful of tickets are the things that are going to sit on the scale and are going to be the weight that's going to determine what your next life is like. And you got this big handful of tickets, and you walk up to the counter. This kid walks up to the counter and puts them on the counter. Says, I want that. I want the next life. I want paradise. I want this merciful redemption. I want all the good that was talked about in the Quran. I want all the good that was referred to in the narration of the Prophet. That's what I want. This is what I have to show. I have to show that I gave in charity, that I taught the religion, that I said my prayers, that I fasted during the month of Ramadan. I was able to make the Hajj, so I went on Hajj. All these things that I did, and I put this in front of my Creator. I give this to the Creator to show him, this is what I've done. This is what I have to show for the life that you've given. This is what I have to show for the mercy that you gave me in this life. All right, man. This is what I have to show for that. So I'm asking to be rewarded. I'm asking to be redeemed. It's possible, brothers and sisters. It's possible for you. It's possible. Inshallah, God willing. But we have to put in the work. We have to put in the work. We have to put in the work every single day. We have to stay vigilant. It's possible, brothers and sisters. Ar-Rahim, merciful Redeemer. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة إنك أنت السميع صلاتك تسد ومحتاج لا شريك له وبياك تبع له الحمد لله رب العالمين.